Hello, I'm the story lady, and today we're going to do a very fun and silly story called The Prince Who Thought He Was a Rooster. There once was a prince who thought he was a rooster. While other princes spent their days slaying dragons and courting princesses and learning how to rule a kingdom, well, this prince cast off his royal robes, spent his days crouching under a table, and refused to eat anything but kernels of corn. Well, his father, the king, was very upset at his behavior. "Send for all the doctors in the land," he proclaimed. "A great reward will be given for anyone who can cure my son." Well, of course, doctors came from all corners of the kingdom. Each tried to cure the prince, but none of them succeeded. The prince still thought he was a rooster. He ate corn, he preened his feathers, and he strutted about saying, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo." Well, when the king had almost given up hope, a wise man was passing through the kingdom and appeared before him. "Let me stay alone with the prince for 1 week, and I will cure him," he said to the king. "Everyone else has failed, but you're welcome to try," said the king. Then the wise man entered the prince's chamber. There he too took off his clothes, crawled under the table, and began to eat kernels of corn, just like the prince. The prince looked at him with suspicion. "Who are you?" "Oh, well, I'm a rooster," said the wise man, and he continued to munch on his corn. And after a short while he asked, "Who are you?" "Well, I, too, am a rooster," said the prince. And after that the prince treated the wise man as an equal. The two strutted about, preening their feathers, and crying, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo." When they had made their home under the table for a while and become very, very good friends, the wise man suddenly crawled out into the prince's chamber and, he dressed himself. The prince was shocked. "A rooster doesn't wear clothes." Well, the very, very wise man, he remained very calm. He goes, "Well, I am a rooster, and I am wearing clothes." The prince considered this for a day or two. Then he decided to imitate or copy his friend, and the prince also put on some clothes. A few days later, the wise man took some of the food that was being delivered to them every day. Food that the prince, who was a rooster, always refused to eat. He carried it beneath the table, and he ate it. The prince was astonished. Roosters don't eat that kind of food. But the wise man calmly said, "Well, a rooster can eat any food he wants and still be a good rooster." And he continued to eat the tasty food. Well, the prince watched this for a while, then he decided to copy or imitate his friend and started to eat the food. The next day, the wise man stopped crouching beneath the table, and he stood up proudly on his 2 feet and started to walk about the room. And the prince said, "What are you doing? A rooster cannot get up and walk like that." But the wise man said firmly, "I am a rooster, and if I walk like this, I will walk like this, and I'm still a rooster." And he continued to walk around the room nice and tall. The prince peered at him from underneath the table. Then he decided to copy his friend, and he too stood up and walked around on 2 feet. So in this way, the prince began to eat and dress and walk like a man. The week's time was up. And no longer did the prince crouch beneath the table, eat kernels of corn, and go bok, 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 bok all the time. Well, of course, the king was overjoyed and welcomed his son back with open arms. And as for the wise man, why, he collected his reward and went happily on his way. Bok, 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 cock-a-doodle-doo.